Hey everybody, it's video blog time. I like the lighting today. You know, clamp lights? I always use clamp lights for everything. And I've been using them forever. You know those clamp lights you buy like at Lowe's and Home Depot? Just tape over a gel and put them all over the place, and you can create different, you know, different vibes, different colors. So I like it today. It looks good. So says I. Anyways, let's see if I get close, it's yellow. If I get far, it's red. Blue. Anyways, I even use them at gigs sometimes. So I do not know what I'm going to title this video because it's more of a feeling, it's more of a thing us humans do. And as you know, I talk about DIY quite a bit, DIY music, the world of DIY music, and it spreads over to entertainment in general. And I think this pertains somewhat because this thing that we do a lot, maybe it's just human nature, just something that's programmed into us for some reason. But I think it pertains to it because a lot of times, like nowadays on social media, you're constantly gauging yourself with other people, right? So-and-so had this many followers, so-and-so has this many likes and views. I mean, it's something we all do if we're on the, if we have something going that we're trying to push. You kind of compare yourself to other people. But there's something we do, it's kind of like this exaggeration sort of thing, where we don't really soak in things as they really are. And you can get better at doing it. So where you're not doing it as much, we're always going to do it a little bit. In some ways, it'd be annoying, and it probably wouldn't be even good for you to take in everything analytically, like correct all the time. You'd probably be, stressed out all the time. So I think there's a reason why we do this, but it's sometimes good to remind yourself. It helps you to not maybe procrastinate as much, put in the work to reach the vision that you're going after, instead of just waiting around. And we, like I say, we all do it. So it's just a reminder. And I'm going to try to describe it because it's very hard to describe what exactly this is. I was thinking of a few examples, and the best one I can think of, and I'll give a few of them, but this is one. It's one of the best ways to see what it is we do a lot. It's just, I don't know why. Okay, so I casually watch like MMA, UFC stuff every now and then. It's a casual, I follow on Instagram, so if there's an event going on, I'll usually see the posts they make, and occasionally I'll try to actually tune in to an actual event. And because they're always constantly, like the UFC is always posting like clips from like IGTV videos of like older fights and compilations and stuff like that, especially during the pandemic, just to keep people watching. And it's one of the best examples because let's just take like Brock Lesnar, right? I'm sorry if you don't follow UFC, but I think a lot of people do, at least casually. And I'll do some other examples, but Brock Lesnar, WWE champion, WWE star, wrestler, he fought in the UFC for a period of time, and he was a champion, right? Big man, great wrestler, just an absolutely terrifying man in the octagon. I think most people with a level head, with a good head on their shoulders for critiquing this sort of thing would say the man was terrifying. He went in the ring. He went into real fighting. I enjoy WWE, by the way, too. So that's not a dig. It is what it is. It's sports entertainment. But he went over to UFC, mixed martial arts, and he was gonna put it all on the line and fight, real fights. And people were like, he's a little older to be getting into this, and he went in, and the first couple of fights, I mean, he proved. I believe he did one, or I don't know if it was one or two, but he did a few in different organizations first, and pummeled the opponent, right? Then he went into UFC, and I believe he lost the first one to someone who ended up beating later. Anyways, my point being that he was a champion. He was a champion, and he beat several, I believe, other champions along the way. And then towards the later part, he met some all-time greats, and lost a few towards the end. And you can argue a few different things, like, oh, maybe because he had surgery on an issue that he had, maybe that was a reason, or maybe this or that. But whatever it is, you can debate stuff about Brock Lesnar, and how good he was. So my point being, because I'm talking about UFC here, it's like, what are you talking about, Chris? But you go to the comments of these videos, like say they share on this day 10 years ago, however long it was, Brock Lesnar retained his, championship, or on this day he lost, right? You go into the comments and you would think the man was terrible, right? Because people are saying stuff like, yeah, but as soon as he fought some real opponents, he lost, right? I'm like, okay, I get it, and I don't know if most people that are commenting these things are just saying that to be trolls, or maybe they just forget that you're dealing with world-class talent all the way around, right? And that's the thing, like, you have to remind yourself, like, at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar had a very, very successful UFC run. Like, super successful. He went in there, he didn't make a fool out of himself. He beat some extremely dangerous, talented heavyweight champions or heavyweight opponents. Like, that you got to respect that. And some of these comments that you see about, like, oh, terrible and this and that, is exactly what I'm talking about. We got to gauge things a little better. No normal person, for the most part, would want to square up with a man like Brock Lesnar, hand to hand. Not if you're, got any sanity. I mean, an extremely dangerous person, right? That most people would just be like, yeah, never mind, dude. So, I think that's a fantastic example in what I'm talking about. Like, and then all of a sudden you go to comment boards and it's like, he's absolutely the worst thing ever, You can move over to football. You can move over to baseball. Yeah, so-and-so was a clown. I'm a tennis player. That's the sport that I've been playing since I was a kid. I can play a decent level of tennis. I've been obsessed with tennis, watching tennis, playing tennis, analyzing tennis. That's actually more the sport. I follow UFC casually, but tennis, it's like, I see what's going on all the time. But I don't know what's more popular in terms of, I think the UFC thing was probably a little bit more, I think more people will know about that at this point. But in tennis, you see it all the time. Oh yeah, you know what, Nadal won the French Open, but he just ran over a bunch of clowns. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's remember this, there's levels here. You can go to your local park and see some guy who's hitting the ball and you're like, whoa, he's good, right? And that's like, he's just a club player. That's the way I would look if I was playing and you don't really play that much. Oh man, that guy's good, right? They would call someone like me a 4.0 level tennis player. When I play a lot, I become a 4.5 level tennis player. And that's like a rating. Pros are considered 7.0. Here in America, that's the rating. And the really good ones, it's like, yeah, it's kind of even beyond that. It's kind of hard to rate at that greatest of all time level, But that's my point. Like, okay, I play I play here and there. I'm decent. I'm a decent tennis player. But then you get your national level, right? Even in like your 18, even your 16-year-old like guys in the country, the 16-year-old boys in the United States are amazing. They tour around, they play tournaments all over the place, all over the world. They're very, very good. I believe Nadal was like 16 when he was already playing in like the U.S. Open and some big tournaments. And so that'll tell you, they're good, And like once they move up to like college tennis, they're really good. You get that Division I or the top division in college, and yeah, they're really, really good. I wouldn't be able to get games off them, put it that way. Then you put those guys, they'll start, and then maybe the top junior tennis player, they start getting into the pros, and they can't really win because they're playing these, like, they call them journeymen in tennis, or the women have the same thing going on. You get these players ranked 500, 600, they've been doing it for many years, and they just put a whooping on some of these new people. It's like, man, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this, I don't know if I can get at this level. And the ones that are really good, the ones that are determined, have good coaching, and you just really want it, and talent, will rise, to 500, 600. Then, at certain points, they keep winning, and the ones that there's always certain players that people have an eye on. I remember Novak Djokovic. He shot up the rankings very fast. This kid is winning matches. He's shooting up, and he got to the top 10 pretty quick. You know, so it happens every now and then, like with Nadal as well. But my point being that there's levels here. Like if you saw a college player or a top junior, you know, 16 to 18 years old, you're going to be like, whoa, they should be in the pros. No, a lot of those would get in the pros and get whooped. You know, that the 600 and 700 ranked player would whoop them. You know, so, and then you're getting to the top 300 and the top 600 get whooped by the top 300. And then you finally get to that top 100 level and say, whoa, yeah, you gotta get to that next level to deal with those top 100 guys. Then it's the top 50. Then it's the top 10. And then the top 10 can't really ever beat Federer and Nadal and you know, the top 3 guys, whoever it is, back in Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi. Before that, you know, McEnroe, Borg, and Lendl, you know, that sort of thing. I'm sorry if you don't follow tennis, but there's levels here, you know, like for whatever reason, certain people are able to rise and so when you say, it's a long way to talk about something, to just give the example of when people say, yeah, Nadal just got through a bunch of clowns, or, you know, Andre Agassi's tournaments at the Australian Open were a bunch of clowns. It's like, yeah, no, they're not. They're really, really, really good. Super, super good. You know, I follow arm wrestling. I follow arm wrestling on Instagram. It's just kind of fun to watch. Devin Lorat is one of the greatest arm wrestlers on the planet. He can sit there at a park and rest, and just anyone can come up and he can just go give 20%, and he's just all, you know, for 5 hours, you know, and people that are not even close to him can do the same thing, beat everybody for like 5 hours. And then they get to Devin Lorat, and he's like, yeah, I'm super strong. And they can't budge him, you know. And, you know, there's people his level, too. There's a few people that are his level also. Maybe a few that can, you know, beat him. But it's like top level, you know. There's levels. But it doesn't mean that we should be like, yeah, Clownville, you know, just because, you know, they're great at what they do, you know, or some people have trouble challenging them. So, 12 minutes into this, let me kind of swerve this. And that happens in all avenues. Like, you'll see it, oh, Michael Jordan had better competition, or, you know, LeBron James has better competition, and I know so-and-so had nothing but clowns, you know. Yeah, no, probably not. You know, probably, if you're someone who's really, really analyzing, like, I mean, I can do it in tennis too, like, if you're really, really analyzing and not calling people clowns, you know, and not saying, like, I mean, if you're using the term clown, but you actually know what you're talking about, then, you know, that's a different story. But once again, it can kind of confuse people that actually really believe they are clowns. You know, they're not good. You know, it's like people that watch old footage of like Chris Everett playing tennis. They're like, oh, some I don't know, probably some kids that play in high school or something are watching old footage of Chris Everett saying, oh, you know, we could beat her. And I'm like, yeah, you probably would not. You know, film yourself from the top level playing tennis, like the way the pros do. Film yourself and then watch yourself. It's one of the most humbling experiences. It's like, oh my goodness, when I hit that ball, I feel like it's like, you know, going hard. Then I watch it from the video on top and I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, Chris Everett would probably beat you pretty bad. You know, wooden rackets, you know, wasn't as much power back then, but she was very accurate. She hit the ball a lot harder than it looked like from you know, those angles. And, you know, of course, yes, sports evolutionize and things change and things get a little faster, but there's certain things they did back then better than the new players because of the equipment they had, you know. So let's try to remember that. You know, of course, you know, when you're young, sometimes it is kind of fun just to beat, you know, it is what it is, you know, like, oh yeah, you know. So I'm not gonna take everything that's freaking so serious, but if we really want to get serious, like, yes, even back then they were very good. Onto music. You're in a band, right? This is one of the things I noticed. Like, I notice, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but so you follow, you know, everybody follows big famous bands, right? That have like, they put a Facebook post, or let's say an Instagram post, right? Because I don't know who does Facebook too much, to be honest. The pages are just getting worse and worse. You're on Instagram. I don't know, let's say you follow Paramore, right? Are they posting on Instagram lately? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad example. You follow Green Day. You know, somebody posts on the Green Day page, and you see, I don't know, 400 comments, right? couple thousand likes, right? Because some of the bands like that, you have to realize, like some of the bands like Green Day or like a U2 or like even like a Paramore, like they're not really going hard on their social media. Like they're not spending like money to like, oh, promote my I mean, they do ads sometimes when they have music and they want to promote things, but they're not trying hard to get people to recognize them. They already have lots of fans. It's for example, like the Cranberries before the obviously unfortunate passing of Dolores O'Riordan, they had an album. I mean, about 5 years before that, before she passed away, and they weren't using their Facebook page too much, but it had like 5 million likes. You know what I'm saying? So this is exactly what I'm saying. Like they weren't even trying, but it already had 5 million likes. That's true power right there when it comes to that. That's very typical of some of your older bands that are like just legendary. You know, they're not gonna even like sign into their page, but they're getting thousands and thousands of new people. Like that's why they play live and it's like 10 to 20,000 people show up. But you would think some influencer is more popular because they have way more likes and way more followers. But in reality, some of these older legendary bands have generation upon generation of fan base that, yeah, maybe they're not getting much traction in social media, but when they play or when they do their thing, you see the true power of some of these big acts. So anyways, let's take Green Day. He puts a post, all right, a couple thousand likes, 400 comments, whatever. You see your own, and you're like, oh, okay, I get like maybe 6 or 7 comments. If I'm lucky, I get about 100 likes. 50 would make me happy. You know, that sort of thing. And it's like, you see Green Day, but you just expect Green Day to have that many, right? And then all of a sudden, say a friend of yours does a viral post or something, right? And they get like a couple thousand likes and I don't know, 400 comments, right? And it's like, whoa, because you know the person, and it's like you see that. There's a certain jaded feeling you get when you watch like a Taylor Swift post. You know it's gonna get like thousands of comments and almost maybe even millions of likes. For some of these huge stars, yeah, they get like 1 million likes or 2 million likes. And you know, just it's so many comments that there's a lot of comments that don't even like, it just seems like spam, you know. It's just like crazy. But you see that level of engagement, and it's just like it doesn't even compute. It's like you're not even thinking about it. It's Taylor Swift. Of course it's got that many. But when your friend has a post, or like someone that's maybe smaller that you know maybe personally, you feel it more. You're like, whoa, right? You kind of feel it more, what it's like. You see the bad comments, you see the good comments, you see like, whoa, that's like, you feel that, right? So that's the same thing. It's almost the same feeling I'm trying to encompass and describe, like when you take away from like so-and-so's competition, when you take away from like, oh yeah, well, you know what, so-and-so had you know, nothing but clowns to face, you know, so this person's better. And then it's the same kind of thing, like when you see that traction at a very almost like personal situation, that you can feel that, it's like a little bit more legit, right? It's like you're, okay, let me go back into the sports thing. Maybe you're good at, I don't know, maybe you're a baseball player, right? And you're like, all right, I'm gonna get the chance to try to swing at a pitch from not even major league, a college level, a top college level pitcher, right? I'm gonna get that chance today. But you're like, you know, you're into the way I am into tennis. Like you're good, but at club level, that's what they call tennis. Baseball, I'm not too sure what they would call it. Like that, I don't know. You play every week a couple times. Compared to normal people, you're really good, right? But then here comes this collegiate pitcher, and you're getting ready, you're like, you can't even like smell that pitch. You know, it's like unbelievable. And that's just the college level, you know, top college level, right? And you get the pros and stuff like I went through earlier. It's kind of like that, right? It's like you see what it's like for Taylor Swift, for Paramours, for, I mean, you know, the Kardashians, for all these huge celebrities. And even influencers that maybe no one even knows about, just the people that you run into, you know. And there's a lot of big influencer people on Instagram, or just people that have, I don't know, anything. Like people that are good at makeup, people that are good at anything, you know, gaming, people that are good at, I don't know, eating fast, you know, competitive eaters. It's just there's top level profiles, like in everything, you know. and all those people have lots of engagement. But you're not really gonna feel that unless it's someone like that you know, that personal experience, or say maybe you make that post and you're like, oh, I can't even keep up with this, you know. I mean, I've had a post over the years, and some that are not nearly viral, but like I've seen what it feels like to like all of a sudden you get something going, and it's like, whoa, 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 I gotta get back. No, wait, no, no, you know, and it's insane, you know, and it's like nothing compared to like that. So it's like that same level of getting smoked on a pitch, even though you thought you were pretty good, but it's like, yeah. Why do we do that? You know, why do we somehow, I can do that. I can do that. I bet I could do that. You know, and there's TV shows about that back in the day, you know, like pros versus whatever, you know, certain things like that. And it never really goes well for, not all, usually not. But it's just something that I think you need to remember when you're doing, like, say, like this, like DIY stuff, like, and it helps you weigh out whether you even really want that. You know, it's like, well, do I want that? I'm kind of happy doing what I'm doing, but I would like some success. I'd like for people to stream my songs. I'd like for people to hear my music. How big would I really want to be? You know, you got to sometimes think about that, you know, and yeah, I mean, in some ways it's kind of fun to, like, you know, when you're with friends, you can kind of talk like what I'm telling, like the things I'm saying, like you can get funny, you can get troll, like it's fun, it's part of who we are. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to remember, like, all right, you know, I wouldn't last a second with a bantamweight, you know, boxer, even though I think I'm tough. I'm not saying me, I'm just saying like an example of someone, you know, maybe someone kind of, you know, on the weekend kind of spars a little bit, and you know, you're kind of like a, I don't know, 6-foot dude or something, and it's like some bantamweight boxer or something. I can, you know, I'm a bigger guy. And no, you know, you gotta sometimes remember the truth, you know. Like I said, I just wanted to talk about this because earlier I was seeing that, I was like, man, that's just something that exists a lot in music too, and just everything, in all walks of life, it exists. It's what we do. Maybe it's some sort of I don't know, like what I said earlier. If you just take in everything like analytically and like the truth, well, that would probably be no fun also. But it also helps to you know, have a little bit of to have some reality checks every now and then, right? And like, okay, like with me personally, like I record the way I record. I you know, I have this style that I have, and I also know that not everyone's going to hear it right off the bat and just be like, oh, that's awesome, you know. You don't see the studio at the same, but you do hear the studio. And, well, with me, I'm showing it. But in general, you don't hear the studio. But you do hear the difference. Like, I've been to expensive studios in other projects, and when you go there and you're hearing, you're like, whoa, yeah. But most people just get used to the sound. So my sound probably stands out in terms of like, well, that sounds like he did it in his room, you know, because I did. But in my case, I try to use it as a way to, because it's almost like everything always goes in a circle, you know, everything always comes around. And like I've said in other videos, I do this as a way to maybe give people a different form of art, a different form of music. Like, I'll be that person to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna try this, because it's what I have, I'm gonna make the most of it, you know. So I try to record things different and have a unique sound, because I could never get a sound of like some professional studio, you know, big old studio. So that's what I do. But I also don't expect for everybody to just be like, oh yeah, awesome, you know, he's great, that's awesome. I with a grain of salt, I throw it out, and I try to work hard and to keep going. And my YouTube channel is about 727 subscribers at this point. I thank each and every one of you for subscribing. Sometimes I like to blabber my video blogs. Hopefully you enjoy them and you can get something out of them. A lot of times I'm just talking out of experience, and I'm also talking out of out of something that's not that successful yet, you know. So it's like I always say, a grain of salt, you know, grain of salt, because I talk about, oh, this is the things you need to do, yet I haven't really done them myself. I think I can give a little bit of advice because I have managed to like not give up, and I have 115 songs here, and I have a certain amount of DIY music videos. So yeah, it's something. At least if anything, to persevere and to keep going, you know. And that's something, you know, that's fine with me, to keep going forward and having fun, and just it's a combination of all that stuff. But I don't even know if I really have a point with this topic, but it is something we do as people, and it just like, it's kind of when people put themselves to something and they work hard, you know, it's very easy to like just say like, oh, so and so is stupid, or you know, this person's so much better. It's kind of like the whole like worshiping the very, very top. Like, let me go back to tennis. Roger Federer, right? I think he's done things that are just so like insane, and he did it right after Pete Sampras. So it's like, I would have never expected. Pete Sampras had 14 Grand Slams, right, when he retired. I'm like, well, that's gonna be there for a while. And here comes Federer, and he has like 20, right, or 20, 21 or 20. I can't. It's been a while since I've checked in with that. I think 20. And I'm like, man, who's gonna catch that? Something like the way he's going. Then 2 other guys show up, and it's like, now it almost seems normal. You know, it's like, yeah, but it's very, like I said, it's very easy to just worship that top 3, right? Because they're so ridiculously good. To think that everything else is just not worth it. And I went to go see a tennis tournament with like 600, 500 ranked guys in my home area. They're amazing. Like, they're fantastic. You know, so it's like, it's worth looking into, you know, just because something isn't like all-time great status doesn't necessarily mean you can't enjoy it, or you can't learn something from it. You know, there's a lot of people in this world, and lots of people are trying hard to get somewhere, and there's lots of things that like oh, you know what, Rick Beato put out a very good video a couple days ago about, he called it Why Record Labels Suck. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Now, I was going to do another video blog after this for another day, and I was going to talk about this very thing on that video blog, so I don't want to say too much here. But he talks about this band that almost got somewhere, and they're really good, and for whatever reason it didn't happen. Just go watch the video. Rick Beato, one of the best channels on YouTube for music, like humbling knowledge from him, and just like, I'm thankful that someone like him is making these videos to learn from. And you know, he kind of makes me want to learn a couple scales on the guitar and in music in general, because yeah, just fantastic stuff, man. Yeah, you know what, most people had never heard of him a couple years ago, yet here he is, and you see him play the piano, you see him talk, and it's like, you know, it's amazing. So yeah, if people are trying to get somewhere, man, it doesn't mean that there's not quality content underneath the, you know, greatest of all time status. And when you're doing your own things, you know, I think that can be motivating. That can be motivating to stay on track, become good, have some discipline in what you do, you know. And even though people may not always tell you, you know when you're on that track that's like, you know. I started working out like 2 months ago. I was jump roping. I couldn't do 50 jump ropes. I felt I'd get winded at 50 and I had to stop, and then I'd do 50 more. Oh, I did 100, you know, in 10 minutes. I'd take them apart, do 50 and 50. Then fast forward to now, like maybe a month and a half later, I can do 1,000 now. I can do 1,000 just from like, you know, maybe not in all one sitting, but you know, in a little span of time, I can do like 1,000. So it's like, you know, you grow. You just keep going, you know, just keep going. And when you start feeling that traction, oh, it's what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to have this thing. Sometimes, you know, like what I was saying earlier about the viral post, it's almost like, whoa. You gotta be ready, you know, you gotta be ready. So just try to think about all these things, you know. Yeah, it's I can't even imagine what it's like for someone like a Taylor Swift level, you know, of fame. That's like horrifying in a way. It's like, oh my god, this is insane. You gotta have, your world's gotta be ready for it, you know. So I hope this made sense. You know, it's just kind of I know it's fun sometimes to be a troll. I know it's fun to just kind of like exaggerate, but here's a video to just remind you that that happens, and sometimes you just gotta, you know, put your mind in check and remember what the truth really is. So hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, rock on.